The Department of Veterans Affairs operates as a rigid legal bureaucracy where clinical findings are translated into administrative code. The core objective of Title 38, Part 4 of the Code of Federal Regulations is precise, quantifying the average impairment in earning capacity resulting from service-connected diseases and injuries. In this system, adding a 60% disability to a 50% disability never equals 110%. Human biology and economic efficiency do not scale linearly. You cannot be more than 100% disabled, making simple addition physically impossible when assessing a whole person. Mastering the VA rating schedule requires abandoning linear math entirely and embracing the specific, nonlinear algorithms of the federal code. A 60% disability leaves a 40% efficiency baseline. A second 50% disability takes half of that remaining 40, adding exactly 20%. The blocks fuse. 60 and 50% combine to exactly 80% total impairment. This asymptotic curve ensures the mathematical total approaches but never artificially exceeds total whole person impairment. Because of this diminishing return, achieving a 100% rating requires an exponentially higher burden of medical evidence as the combined rating climbs. Section 4.25 dictates the sequence of operations. All disabilities must first be sorted in the exact order of their severity, from greatest to least. Table I serves as the lookup matrix. The left column lists the major disability, the top row the minor. Intersecting a 60 and 30% disability yields 72. Values ending in 5 or more adjust upward. 72 rounds to 70. There is a strict procedural trap here. This rounding to the nearest degree is done only once per rating decision. Interim combinations must preserve their exact mathematical values. The conversion happens only after all diagnostic codes are merged. Title 38 mandates this sequence of sorting and rounding to arrive at a correct rating decision. Bilateral injuries create a physical disadvantage greater than their isolated sum. The loss of function in paired limbs compounds the total impairment. Section 4.26 requires partial disability in 2 paired extremities. A left leg and right arm do not trigger the rule. They need not mirror exactly, just exist on paired upper or lower limbs. Here, paired arms route into bilateral computation. The math follows a unique sequence. First, combine the bilateral ratings using Table I before any other conditions are considered. 40 and 20 combine to 52. Then 10% of that combined value, 5.2, is strictly added to the total, yielding exactly 57.2. This new number is now treated as a single, unified disability for the rest of the Table I combinations. A recent legal exception requires the VA to strip away the bilateral factor entirely if it paradoxically lowers the veteran's final combined evaluation. The bilateral factor recognizes that losing function in both hands creates a compounding barrier to self-support that isolated injuries simply do not. Theoretical math must eventually meet the clinical reality of medical evaluations. Section 4.14 establishes the rule against pyramiding, the schedule's primary defense against evaluative inflation. This diagram shows knee strain and knee arthritis. Evaluating the exact same functional impairment, like painful motion, under multiple different diagnostic codes is strictly prohibited. The rater must choose the single code providing the highest evaluation for that functional deficit. The amputation rule establishes an absolute ceiling. A combined rating for an extremity can never exceed the elective amputation rating for that limb. Here, we see a 40% leg disability and a 30% knee disability combine. The bar rises towards 60%, but aggressively hits the solid ceiling for the amputation level. No matter how many separate injuries exist on that specific limb, the scheduler math simply stops at the amputation threshold. These ceilings force practitioners to focus on the functional loss of the whole person, rather than blindly accumulating overlapping diagnostic codes. What happens when the strict scheduler math fails to capture the total economic ruin of the disabled veteran? A veteran may hit the VA math barrier, stuck at an 80 or 90% combined rating, despite being entirely unable to work. This chart illustrates the bypass rule found in Section 4.16, total disability ratings based on individual unemployability, known as TDIU. To trigger this, a veteran needs either one disability rated at 60% or a combined 70% with at least one 40% rating. If these numerical thresholds are met and the disabilities prevent substantially gainful employment, the veteran is compensated at the full 100% rate. Part 4 is an interlocking architecture designed to cap anatomical inflation while ensuring functional deficits are fairly valued. True mastery of the VA rating schedule requires abandoning linear assumptions and rigorously applying the sequence of severity sorting, bilateral factoring, and unemployability overrides.